I'm here with James McKay from Work Package 6. And J- James, how do you think genetics affect head and neck cancer?
Thanks, Matthew. Yeah. My background, I work a lot in germline genetics, and most of my career, I've really tried to understand a few things about the genetic architecture of different types of cancer, and some of them head and neck cancer. And germline genetics in general can do three things. So it can do three things. It can really identify at-risk individuals. So if we can identify both at-risk individuals and those at less at risk, we can then modify their clinical follow-up, and we can really tailor their clinical surveillance to make sure that the genetic risk that they have is never a major problem. So that's the first thing that genetics can do. And I think in head and neck cancer, we've identified a number of genes now that are starting to become really important. And over the next few years, I really hope that we have that kind of resolution in the genetic profiles to be able to identify those people most at risk of developing a head and neck cancer, and also looking at other environmental factors and putting all that into a risk model. But that's only one thing that genetics can do. It can also do a couple of other things, and they're equally important to a project like Headspace. The second thing is really using the approaches we do. We find all these things that we don't know about. So we identify different genes, different pathways, different proteins that are involved in the biological processes that lead to head and neck cancer. And through those discoveries, what we can do is sort of use them as guides to new biomarkers, new treatments, new drug targets, and so forth. And you really identify those key things that are involved in head and neck cancer and how it develops. And that way, we can build better treatment models and better biomarkers to identify the risk. The last one, which is really relevant for head and neck cancer, there's a lot about head and neck cancer that we don't know, and Headspace is really contributing to that, trying to understand new environmental risk factors, and germline genetics can also really assist in that. There's different approaches, something called Mendelian randomization. It's a really clever genetic trick to understand novel etiological factors. And so one of the things we've done with germline genetics is really showed how the germline variants, which is in our constitutional DNA, they are involved in certain proteins that metabolize alcohol. And through that observation, it really reinforced the notion that alcohol is a risk factor for head and neck cancer. And so that was actually used in something called the IAC Monographs program. And some of that information was actually shown to really reinforce the fact that alcohol is a human carcinogen. And I think with the wealth of genetic knowledge that comes through Headspace, but other equivalent consortium that are working on the same thing, we can use all that all those genetic variants to try and understand the environmental factors. So the three things that germline genetics can do for us.
Thank you. That was an amazing explanation. It's a pleasure to have you here with us.